God yearns for all God's people to have enough, and in fact, set things up so that we all would take care of each other. The healing that we need for whatever dis-ease ails us, whether it's in body or mind or spirit or relationships, the healing we need is available, except not always where we expect to find it or in the way we expect. As our book so often says, pay attention, stay grounded in God, keep your eyes open, be alert, for the presence and the power of the Holy is all around us if we open our hearts and trust. The messengers of the good news we each might need to hear this day, well, they might be the least likely ones we'd expect to hear anything good from. And in fact, we might be the ones who are the carriers of healing and hope to one another that we didn't even expect. As always, there are no insiders or outsiders to God. And therefore, of course, there's only us, each one of us, all of us together, in this journey closer to the heart of God. The Gospel of Jesus according to Luke. Perhaps every time you've heard this story, you were struck by this notion of 70 that were sent. You know, we think of the 12, but there weren't only 12. There were lots who followed Jesus, and here we get a key example. Jesus sent 70 to increase the number of laborers in the world's field where the harvest is plentiful. Jesus never stopped sending carriers of the good news. Jesus never, to this moment, has stopped sending folks into the harvest. And what about that plentiful harvest? How true do we know this to be today? How true do we know to be the hunger for hope, the search for solace, the worry over war, the fear over failure, the desperation and despair? These feelings are rampant, not only in America, but around the world. The harvest is plentiful. Jesus sent them as sheep among wolves. That's such a great image to remember. The mission we're sent on, friends, is a dangerous one. You might remember a book written a couple years ago called What's the Matter with Kansas? It's about voters who vote against their own best interest, their own self-interest, the best for the community, by some convoluted, manipulative thinking. And you know, I think that's how it is for faithful followers of Jesus today. The hungry, fearful, desperate ones out there may not receive what we have to offer, what we bring, because they, as often we ourselves, are caught up in ungospel ideas like rugged individualism, and you must work hard to get ahead, and God helps those who help themselves. None of those are God's way according to our book and according to our Jesus. God's way revealed throughout the gospel, and particularly clearly here, is that we are sent to be in partnership with any and all. And then Jesus tells these 70 to go without any attachments. Go with no worry, no concern that you might be intrusive, no expectations of how you'll be treated, no attachment to the outcome. I think that's really important. No attachment to the outcome of the journey. Stay where you're welcomed. Eat whatever's set before you. When you enter, bring peace to this home and announce the reign of God has come near. Cure the sick. And if a town doesn't welcome you, simply wipe the dust off your feet and move on, insisting nonetheless that the kingdom of God The 70 do what Jesus asked, and then they return, well, unfortunately and humanly, unable to do the detachment thing. They are attached to the outcome of their ministry because they're jubilant and say, even the demons submitted to us. Can't you just see Jesus shaking his head fondly at those who were trying so hard to follow him? And he says, nothing can hurt you, I told you this. I'm in the world to disarm the principalities and powers, to turn the adversary, Satan, if you will, on his head. But friends, the deal's this. You are not to rejoice at the successes you might or might not have, but to know that you are beloved of God, that as you have been named and claimed by the God of the universe, you can live into the fullness of life and share the good news with others and simply live into joy without holding on. You know, for us, followers of Jesus, every Sabbath, every Sunday is Freedom Day. Every Sunday when we come together to chew on the teachings from our Jesus, we are invited into this holy freedom where we can be released from anxiety and worry, with the catch being as we serve one another, those near and those far away. So on this National Freedom Day, let the children of God, may we be those who, like our ancestors in boldness and courage, walk forward understanding that our message of generous hospitality and lavish love, our ministry of service without counting the cost, our outrageous claims that peace is possible and compassionate global family is within reach. This and more will be scorned and mocked, and in fact, I've heard Christians suggest that peace is not possible. How dare they? We may have figurative doors slammed in our faces. We might even have churches dying across the landscape if they're not bearing the presence of Christ to their community, to which we respond, God ain't done with this weary planet yet. Can't you hear that voice? God is still speaking. Peace. Peace. The kingdom of God has come near. Take it or leave it. It's up to you. So that's our reflection for this morning. You are invited to respond to being carriers of the good news by presenting to God our gifts and our offerings.